have two videos for you. Both are about church. The first one is my girl Cecilia Regina, and she is masterfully making the case of why anti-intellectualism is weaved into religion. Now, I am going to come back and talk about how the pastor uses his flock. Now, you wouldn't have the opportunity to use people had they not turned off their thinking and just give. And what I see and what I am hoping to show you is that it is important. It is a business strategy. It is a strategy in general, because church is a business, to keep people unquestioning and just moving on faith and just having the belief that what they are doing is for the glory of God. You have to keep people believing this. And if you do it with such inflection and such confidence and using your tone and using these acting skills, you can get people to just throw all kinds of money at you, especially when they have turned off their brains and then just give, because it's for the glory of God. So that is what I will connect, how faith is an important strategy to keep the pastor's pockets lined and his bellies full, because the flock is who is doing that. And if you get the flock to thinking that they can actually speak directly to whatever deity or whatever God they subscribe to, then that will cut out the middleman. And we do not want to hurt the pastor's pocketbook now, do we? So watch these videos. Tell me what you think on the back end.
Church requires anti-intellectualism to function.
So true, and that's because the Black church is about power, not about salvation. Now, this is not specific to the Black church. This is true of all man-made religions, but we're talking about the Black church today. So the reason why the anti-intellectual bent in the Black church currently is because once upon a time in the antebellum period, Reconstruction, even post-Reconstruction, the preacher or the minister was most often the most educated member of the community, one of the few people who could read or who had the Bible memorized. And so because of that knowledge and because of the relative illiteracy enforced by law by the rest of the community, they would follow whatever this guy said blindly. Okay? Reminds me of that quote from Dangerous Liaisons. They would accord that worship to the priest, which was only due to the divinity. And this is why today you still see that attitude in many Black people. Oh my God, the pastor's infallible. This man speaks directly for God, when the Bible literally says God does not need an intermediary. But nonetheless, this is the origin of that. And as time went on and Black people gained more and more access to education, the preacher was just another person. Add to that, in the Black community, many times the preacher is not formally educated. Many of these men did not go to seminary, did not go get any degrees in divinity, theology, religion, none of that. Did no official studies, but expect you to have that same blind obedience and faith that people had 100 years ago. So rather than getting their education game up, they try to drive a wedge between intellectualism and faith. And they literally tell you, oh, you can't be too smart, you can't be educated. That's going to hinder your ability to believe in God, to believe in miracles, to listen to your pastor. Well, yeah, because if you're an educated person, you're not going to run around following someone who's not making any sense blindly. But I just think it's funny how the church loves doctors and lawyers when it comes to getting that tithe, but they hate education when it comes to the congregants, because they don't want you to be able to use your powers of investigation, of deciphering, of reading comprehension to tell that this person is pulling a big scam. They want to be able to maintain that same power nexus they had back in the day that was completely uninterrupted, where people followed blindly. This is nothing but a power consolidation move, because the Black church is still one of the only spaces where Black uneducated men can reign supreme. A lot of these mega church preachers or these prosperity gospel guys haven't been near a seminary. And, a lot of these local preachers and whatnot are ex-cons. These people are looking for individuals to prey upon. And if you can use your intellectual skill and whatnot to challenge what they say, they will be out of a job. Like and follow for more.
I am currently reading Eartha Kitt's autobiography, Confessions of a Sex Kitten, and I want to read a passage for you. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about the church, and I am going to use Eartha Kitt's story from her early childhood to dovetail into it. She says, on Sundays, a hen would have its neck wrung and be prepared for the preacher's visit. I was not very fond of the preacher's visits, for he ate all of the best parts of the chicken, or both chickens if there were two, most of the sweet potato pie, cornbread made with cobbler milk, buttermilk, biscuits, and collard greens. In between mouthfuls, he would preach a quiet preaching that could barely be understood. Since the children were not allowed to sit at the table with the preacher, I watched him in his gluttony, swallowing all he could, trying to burp air from his walrus-like self in order to find room to devour more. Since I was always the last to get a part of whatever was left, I hated each bite that preacher took, as I felt my stomach getting more angry, realizing it was not going to be getting more than scraps. It was no surprise to me when the preacher finally left that there was hardly anything left for the rest of us as he wobbled off through the cotton fields to the main road into nowhere. Each Sunday in church, when I looked at him, I would recall every piece of chicken he had chewed, cleaning the bones as efficiently as a nest of ants would do. This story to me reads exactly like pimp culture. You have other people that are doing the work for you. Period. They had to, this family had to grow this food, slaughter the food, cook the food, only to be left with nothing because supposedly this man of God had a word. And this man literally ate the food that this whole family was supposed to eat to the point where the children had nothing. And then consider this as a parallel to what happens in families today that are still arguing over who gets the big piece of chicken. Women and children are being harmed by these supposed hierarchies that favor people in charge, men in charge, period. And when you do it without thinking, like religion and tradition has turned people's brains off to where you're just not thinking, you're just reacting. Why are you out here doing all this work so one person can be fed, so one person can get fat pocketbooks and bellies off of your work? That is what religion has done to people. Just turn your brains off. But you guys go ahead and get in the comments. Tell me what you think. Like, comment, share.
Like, comment, share.
Like, comment, and share.